Hi guys, welcome to our State of Disneyland report, where we take a complete tour around the park and see what's new. Things aren't going well at Tiana's, for example. Got a few things to say about that. We'll do some park science and maybe even catch a ride or two. Let's though start our day with a vibe check down Main Street. That's a vibe, is it not? Your day is always better at Disneyland when you start it with some kind of band playing here on Main Street. Maybe the Dapper Dans. See a Main Street vehicle or two. Walking down Main Street is just the absolute best thing in the world, and it's why we always start our shows, these State of Disneyland reports, with a vibe check down Main Street, just to make sure, just to feel that vibe, just to remind everybody where we are and how magical it is. For those of you new to the show, my name is David, and our goal today and for every video that we make is to help make your trips, your visits to the Disney Resort just a little bit better. We're here on a Wednesday morning. It is 11:02 at present as we film this. 75 degrees on our way down Main Street. We're in a post-Santa Ana wind state. Temperatures will probably be getting up to the low 80s today, which is quite a contrast from how things have been recently. It's been very cold. And the vibe that I'm getting here, the vibe that I'm picking up on Main Street today is people have showed up. There's a lot of people here on Main Street right now, more than I would have expected. People seem to be happy and pleasant and ready for a great day today, as am I. But we have business. That being a look at the reservation calendar, let's get back to the top of Town Square. Well, we're going to try anyway. The Disneyland Railroad is closed. We're going to go back up to the top of Town Square and look at the reservation calendar, see what's up, because I think we know why it's a little bit more crowded today than it might normally have been on an early or mid-January afternoon. Well, I did my best anyway. We got to the train station, but I can't go up the steps. That's one of the bummerest things about the Disneyland Railroad closing, and it's going to be closed for a few months, is that I can't get up to the train steps and look down at Town Square. One of my favorite things to do. I always feel better at Disneyland when I'm at the top of the steps, but we'll try to make do here. We're going to look at the reservation calendar, starting with the single day ticket calendar for January. I mean, that's the way it should look in January. It's wide open, obviously. So we got not much to talk about there. I do want to look at, though, to see if there's any difference in the multi-day ticket for that Southern California resident offer. Disney's offering 3 days for $200, basically about $67 per day, which is a huge discount. And there has been the potential for sellout dates on that calendar where they aren't being sold out on the regular single day ticket calendar. But January looks great, actually. You can get a ticket for today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, any day. As a matter of fact, it goes into February also. We looked at this calendar 2 weeks ago in our last State of Disneyland report, if I recall, and there were quite a few dates sold out. So Disney is doing the same thing to this calendar as they were to the reservation calendar for Magic Keys. Let's talk about that next. Let's look at the Inspire Key. And this is something of a miracle, but there's actually a very good reason for it. Magic Key holders can make a reservation for today, which is very rare. Even in January has been brutal for most of the month, especially coming out of the holiday, the first week, the 6th, 7th, and 8th. That first week was very difficult. As a matter of fact, I'm shooting this video on a Wednesday today because I couldn't get a reservation for Monday. Normally I shoot these on Monday, but I couldn't get a reservation for Monday. That's why I'm shooting this on a Wednesday and why you're getting it late, because I couldn't get into the park on Monday in January. Now that is in contrast. You take a look at the calendar that we saw this time last year. I think we filmed this on the 17th of January last year, and there were 3 or 4 dates sold out completely. You couldn't get a reservation. That's more typical of what you would find, what we had been finding in January. But it was very different. Matter of fact, there were sold out dates for the single day ticket calendar also, which meant, if I recall, that was the whole premise of the whole State of Disneyland report we did that day, was what's going on? Why are there sold out dates in January? There shouldn't be sold out dates in January. Not for anybody. But this year there aren't any. Why is that? Well, as it happens, January 2nd today is the first day that Magic Keys have gone back on sale. They have been unavailable for a while. Disney was holding them back. They put them out after the Haunted Mansion reopened. They said, okay, we're going to start selling Magic, or was it Tiana? It's one of those two. We're going to start selling Magic Keys again. And then they stopped abruptly. And the conventional thinking there is that they wanted to create a little more demand, allow for the discounted ticket sales that they were doing during that period. Not the one that they're having now, but they did another discounted ticket for the holiday period. They wanted to sell those tickets before they started selling Magic Keys again. I'm not sure the wisdom of that strategy, but I mean, like I often say, I don't know the first thing about running the theme park, so they probably know better than I do. But it seems like an odd thing to do. I feel like they should be selling more Magic Keys because we show up in the parks when the park is dead. We're the mortar, you know, of the park, and we fill in the gaps. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. So whenever they start selling Magic Keys, invariably it also includes them filling the coffers, the reservation coffers, and they make it look like it's a wide open, very inviting for potential Magic Key holders. Magic Key holders who are on the fence about, and many Magic Key holders have been on the fence because of the reservation system and because of the difficulty that they've had in the past in making reservations and how sold out they become and what a drag it is. And it's very, you know, tiresome and, you know, a lot of anxiety. So whenever they start selling Magic Keys, you can count on them, everything looking great and peaceful and awesome. And, you know, you're welcome. Everybody, welcome to Disneyland. It's wide open. So it'll be like that for a little bit, but expect those dates to start selling out. By the time we do this video in 2 weeks, we'll see some sold out dates in that calendar again. By the way, I mentioned that there might be a reason for the crowds to look a little bit more flush today here on Main Street on a mid-January afternoon. Looking at the price per day calendar, Disneyland has a tiered pricing model, 7 different tiers of pricing, tier 0 through tier 6. Today is a tier 0 day. Today is one of those cheapest green days available at Disneyland. It is $104 to get into the park today. The cheapest ticket you could possibly get, which could help explain why we're seeing, you know, a little bit more activity here on Main Street than we might normally get. In fact, we could be entering that time of year here at Disneyland where you start to see the dramatic differences that the pricing model can make. We saw dates that were, you know, low tier during the holidays, but it didn't. They were a little bit. The crowds were a little bit more traditional. It's busy on a popular day, not so busy on a less popular day. The holidays tend to even things out, whereas in January and February off season, you might see people waiting for the $104 day instead of going on the tier 2 or tier 3 day, which is still like $150. So it's a little bit more obvious in these non-peak periods, January, February, probably even into March. If we see some tier 0 days, $104 days, the parks will be pretty busy. With that, let's get into the park. Let's get started on some of that park science, and we'll start here in Adventureland. Quiet over here at the Tiki Room. By the way, you'll notice the arch. They've removed the entrance, the threshold there to the Tiki Room, probably just for maintenance, not permanent. It'll be back. Try not to panic. I missed that in our last construction report, but we'll try to include that next week. We do a construction update from around the park every Monday. Hopefully you guys are checking that out as well. Part of our, one of our 2 weekly series here that we do. Things are looking real chill here. That was a very nice, comfortable entrance into Adventureland. This is a typical pinch point where you often feel a little bit of intensity. Probably because there are casts just standing around. Jungle Cruise looks to be closed. You don't normally see casts just standing around, and when you do, that is because the attraction is closed, and everybody who is supposed to be out in the attraction somewhere operating, hi guys, is out in front. They got to be somewhere. Now here's some more out in front of the entrance, entertaining guests. You can see the sign is backwards, giving you another visual cue that Jungle Cruise is not operating. So slow start as far as that goes for Disneyland. Well, with Jungle Cruise down, I would expect Indiana Jones to be picking up a few extra guests, posted at 65 minutes right now, which is what I would expect the wait time to be on a semi-busy day with Jungle Cruise down. Or that would be a typical wait time to find. Oh my, yeah, look at this. They've got the queue out here. This is not as bad as it looks, but it doesn't look good. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see the queue out here. It should be in there, okay? The queue should be in there. We'll go around the corner. So yeah, I would agree that this is approaching 65 minutes. But as we've noted in previous episodes, that the wait is actually not as bad as it could be. It could be better. It depends on Lightning Lane, as always. But I do see a lot of guests in the Lightning Lane side of things that are up on the ramp, which gives this queue here a very sticky look to it. You can see there's not a lot of movement here. You're always looking to see if there's bodies moving somewhere in the queue. There needs to be some sort of river-like effect of movement here, and I don't see a lot of that. So that post 65 is looking very, very realistic, and I would even guess that the folks that are getting out of that queue are doing so because they have decided that they are not moving and it's not going very well. So Indiana Jones is feeling it at the moment. Indiana Jones, that is a top-tier attraction. Obviously, you know, the crowds today are evidence of that fact. I've never not believed it to be a top 3 attraction in the entire resort. In spite of the fact, hi guys, in spite of the fact that it's not my favorite attraction personally, but I have respect for it. It's an amazing experience. That's how you feel when you get out of Indiana Jones. You feel like you've had an experience. And again, in spite of the fact that it is the most broke down of attractions in the entire resort. I don't think there's any attraction that has a worse reputation in terms of it breaking down. It's constantly going offline. It's constantly, you know, Indy doesn't work, the boulder doesn't work, this feature, that feature. This whole conversation's had about how difficult and how you know, unreliable the attraction is. It's constantly going down for refurb for a week, 2 weeks, a month at a time. It's incredible how resilient guests are. And I mention that because this is going to come up later on in the conversation when we get deeper into the park. So file that away. Consider how you feel about Indiana Jones and how much you love Indiana Jones, and memory bank that. Things are getting worse now. Actually, look at the size of this Lightning Lane queue. That is incredible. Lightning Lane is really showing up. Definitely Indiana Jones right now is a no-go. Do not get into that standby queue right now. If you were a standby guest, do not get into that. Heck, if you're a Lightning Lane guest, maybe you don't get into that one because you're not saving a lot of time. Although you're probably going to get through that pretty quickly. You could probably do better. I would say there's no reason to get in that queue. It could maybe be better for you, but probably not. But I'm 90% sure that you can do better than that. I'm 90% sure if you come back even just a half an hour later or an hour later, that they will have worked out the Lightning Lane queue there, and standby will have a little bit. I mean, it may not be a walk-on. It's not going to be 30 minutes, but you can certainly do better than 65, that's for sure. And those guests who are also saying no to Indiana Jones may decide that they want to try out Pirates of the Caribbean right next door as you exit Adventureland and into New Orleans Square. As it stands right now, it's posted 30 minutes, and they've got guests out here. I'm good. They got a switchback going there, but they're also out here into the street, which is concerning. You don't like to see that. You don't like to see guests escaping the regular constraints and out into the wild like they were right here. Hi guys, outside the ropes. You don't like to see that. That tends to suggest that things are not going the way that Disney thought they were going to go, and it's more busy than they thought. And probably what is the case is that they need to open up this section right here. And I will observe that Lightning Lane is still a thing. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but as of this recording, as of this Wednesday, the 22nd, Lightning Lane is still in effect at Pirates of the Caribbean. 11:46 now as we enter New Orleans Square proper. Gonna hop in real quick to Tiana's Palace just to see what the standby queue looks like. I often use this as a barometer to see how dining is happening, although Tiana's is always very brisk. If you're ever looking for a discount at standby, if you don't want to deal with mobile order, come to Tiana's Palace, where you can basically just walk up like that gentleman's doing right there. Oh, that side's closed. You can very nearly walk up and pick up your food. You'll be served in a matter of minutes. But then you have to find a table. Oh, look at that, there's a couple tables right here. It is difficult to find a table at Tiana's Palace, but it's still a little early, 11:45, so people have not started rushing here. We come back here in a half an hour or so, and things, this will be a different story. Pro tip from FreshBaked: eat when other people aren't. The natural inclination is to have lunch at noon, dinner at 5:36. So try if you can to arrive at these dining locations off hours. 11:30 is good for Tiana's. 11:45 right now is good. Or at 4:30 for dinner, or maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock if you can hold that long. Maybe have a churro in between. But eat when other people aren't. This State of Disneyland report will move next to Haunted Mansion, right next door to Tiana's Palace, for a State of Haunted Mansion report. Big news. I mean, right, since we were here last, it was closed and now it is open, and people are showing up to enjoy classic Haunted Mansion. Posted though at 45 minutes, which is lower than I would have guessed. I would have guessed it would be somewhere around an hour right now. But taking a peek at this queue as we near the threshold, it looks pretty full in there. Your results may vary in terms of what to actually expect or what you'll get when you arrive. It is 11:53 right now as we look at this queue, and it's posted 45, but it looks, they're filling in all the space back here. I'm sure the garden back there is full, and but it looks to be moving. There's a little bit of a backup there at Lightning Lane, but there are no guests that I can see on the other side of the rail, on the Lightning Lane side of the rail as they approach. So they haven't filled that up yet. So it's just they're having difficulty scanning guests in, it looks like, which could go part of the way at least to explain why it's posted at 45, even though it looks like kind of a longish queue. As I mentioned, your results may vary. My wife was here last night and it was posted 45. Well, she was here at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Posted 45 minutes. They got done in about 25. They were into the mansion in about 25 minutes, but you could find it to be the opposite of that, where it's posted 45 and it winds up being 60 or something like that, all depending on if there's any breakdowns, or if there have been breakdowns earlier in the day, something like we see with Tiana's as well. If there are a lot of breakdowns at Haunted Mansion, all those folks get MVPs and then they all come back later to cash in. So it's sort of, it increases the number of people getting into the Lightning Lane queue whenever you get a breakdown like that. So that compounds the Lightning Lane situation. I would get in this queue. This is a go for me. I would get in this queue, if only because Lightning Lane doesn't look too bad, and Disney doesn't seem to be too concerned about it with a posted wait time of 45 minutes. I've been just sort of observing this queue for a while, the Haunted Mansion queue, and while I was saying that the Lightning Lane queue isn't too sticky, it's not that bad, there's just been a constant flow of guests coming in there. They're getting processed quickly, they're getting them through, and they're getting all the priority, which makes the line stay short, but it's just a regular, every few seconds there's another 5 or 10 guests going through there. And I remembered that I had a conversation a couple weeks ago about how I wondered if people were how they're going to react to the Haunted Mansion reopening and how much demand there would be. Would it reach levels like we saw? Haunted Mansion Holiday is always traditionally busier than regular Haunted Mansion is. The wait times are statistically longer for Haunted Mansion Holiday. Now, part of that has to do with the fact that it is a holiday season, so you're going to get more demand, more people in the park. But also, it feels like it has some sort of energy that it draws guests in, whereas the classic Haunted Mansion maybe not so much. But I thought this year, with the having been closed for a while, that it might be the case, and I wanted to look back and reflect on last year's crowds in January, and then I remembered, oh my gosh, it wasn't open last January, that they actually never reopened. They closed after the holiday, and it stayed this way for 8 months. And now the feeling that I'm having is one of just relief and gratefulness and gratitude for the fact that it is back today. In whatever state that it's in, never mind the bride or anything else, or Madame Leota's Summer Beyond gift shop, which we're approaching, never mind any of that. The part that got me the most when I got into the attraction, I was here the morning that it opened for the first time, was when the speech started in the stretching room and they mentioned my cadaverous pallor. And that was the moment for me when I was like, oh God, thank God the Haunted Mansion is back. Thank goodness that we're having all this. All that other stuff doesn't matter. But just hearing those words and hearing all the stuff that we're familiar with in this attraction hit me right in my heart. Speaking of Madame Leota's Somewhere Beyond gift shop and the controversy surrounding it, I'm over it. Let's go check in on Tiana's. She seems to be fully operational today. Guests dropping down the drop as we speak, which is a good sign. The music is up. Screams are out and loud. And the guests have definitely shown up today on this warm afternoon. By the way, it has warmed up. It is now 78 degrees. Perfect day to enjoy Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I'm actually kind of shocked it's not more busy. I'm actually kind of shocked that it's just 55 minutes. That's a testament to the efficiency of this attraction because it should be busy. It should be way more crowded here right now because of the weather. But right now I'm seeing a fairly light, the initial queue out here where the garden is, and then you go to the back side of the attraction, and they are out there in Extended 1, but they're not in Extended 2. Meanwhile, Lightning Lane is just kind of present. It's not. There are guests there, but they're cycling those guests quickly, and it looks like the standby queue is moving a little bit. Now, at the beginning of this show, I talked about there's potential conversation about troubles that Tiana's is going through. There's been some discourse on social media, etc., about some of the difficulties that they're having with the animatronics, specifically the Tiana animatronics. There are several. They're scattered throughout the attraction, and some are in varying states of operation, which is something that is to be expected, I think. Animatronics do break down from time to time. That's always been the case. We've seen Kylo Ren have difficulty. We've seen Ursula over at Little Mermaid have some trouble. But this one seems to be going beyond that. It's more consistent, more regular, and to the point where it kind of affects the show. That's absolutely a conversation that canon should be having, and I think the Disneyland canon should do better with respect to keeping this thing operationally at a show level that is that we'd expect from a Disneyland e-ticket attraction. But that said, I am practicing patience and understanding on this topic, if only to reflect on what we were just talking about earlier with regard to Indiana Jones Adventure, an attraction that has a way worse reputation for breakdowns and for difficulties than Tiana is experiencing today. Indiana Jones is so bad, it has always been so bad that it's practically a joke. It's a cliche to say that you haven't been to Disneyland if you haven't tried to get on Indiana Jones and found it broke down when you got there. You haven't rope dropped Disneyland if you haven't tried to rope drop Indiana Jones and have it not open at 8 a.m. when it has no reason not to, right? Indiana Jones, if we can feel the way we do about Indiana Jones, if we can feel that it's a top 3 attraction, that it's legendary, that it is one of the best and most physical expressions of the Disneyland experience, if we can feel all that, in spite of all the difficulties that it's had, then we can probably do the same. But it's harder today, in this day of social media. Indiana Jones has not had to go through as much of the social media growing pains as Tiana or any new attraction does today. The fact that social is just there, present, always. It's right now, and there's always a comment and a judgment to be made, whether or not it's valid, whether or not, there's no time given for things to get better. But I promise you, then a year from now or 2 years from now, as Tiana has gone through all of this, it will either gotten better or we will become okay with it to the point where you don't even think about it. It's not Rise of the Resistance. Nobody talks about its difficulties anymore. That was all people talked about when Rise first opened. We talked about the difficulties with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway a lot when that first opened. Nobody talks about those difficulties anymore. So on that, I am practicing patience and understanding. As for Tiana and her issues, her technical issues, let's get in the single rider queue. Let's find out how bad things are today, right now. And in the process, we'll do a little test of the single rider queue. Single rider, that took about 16 seconds to get through that part. I'm expecting maybe 10 minutes or so. Hi, yeah.
head straight.
Awesome. Thank you. Straight. And then take a right. And it's not even going to be 10 minutes. Last time we tested it was out here at the stairs. We are very near the front of the queue. It's been not even a minute yet. 1 minute to get to this point. I would expect we will be in a boat in 5. So that's 15 minutes to our boat. Considerably longer than I thought it would be. 3 times as long. There's a reason why though. We'll talk about that after we get on a ride.
Look at all these beautiful faces. Let's join Louis up ahead and find some musicians for our party. No doubt. We'll ask them to join the band for sure. You found the sound I was craving. You'll get there in no time. Guaranteed.
Okay, so that wasn't perfect. There were some slips. I don't know if I'm supposed to be counting every single animatronic. I was basically paying attention to Mama Odie and Tiana. So obviously we got the good start. The initial Tiana's in the dark ride portion were fine. We didn't get a breakdown until I'm pretty sure Mama Odie at the top of the lift, at the top of the drop, was a little more stoic than she should be. And then obviously coming around the corner and into the Fleur de Bayou. It's a little disconcerting watching Tiana sing but not move. And I can get why that would, for those who are really paying attention, would say that's not good show. It looks a little strange and off-putting. I don't think I like that. I would say that most guests probably aren't going to notice or care very much on that. I guess what I'm saying is, it's fine. It's fine. It's standard operating procedure at the Disneyland Resort to have something going wrong on big attractions like this, complicated attractions like this. It's standard, and I'd rather it not. I'd rather Tiana at the end there be moving around like she should be. That's, it's a grade A animatronic right there. But she's not, and she will though. And then in a year or two from now, we won't even be talking about this. What about single rider? We did a test through here, through single rider. Didn't go quite as well as I had hoped. I was maybe thinking 5 minutes. It went 15, I think. I don't have any data to back this up, but it goes towards our odd-even rule that we talk about often with respect to Radiator Springs racers. There are times when Tiana's is loading just the first 5 seats. The 6th seat is left empty, the very back one. Today, they were loading all 6 rows. Every boat that I looked at had a 6th guest in the very last seat. That creates an even situation as opposed to an odd situation in terms of the number of seats available. What you're looking for with single rider in order to, stimulate more single rider guests is an odd number of situations. Radiator Springs racers, even though there's 6 seats to a vehicle, it's 2 sets of 3. So you often get, a pair in the front and a pair in the back, and that leaves 2 spots open for single riders. If they're loading all 6 seats, then it requires groups of 5 to get in there to create that spot. And that's more difficult to get. It's not often you get groups of 5, it's less often, less frequent. Before we leave Bayou Country, I always forget to talk about Winnie the Pooh, Just give you a quick up. This queue that you're looking at right here. What's up, guys? Even though there's a little bit of a switchback action happening, there's nothing out here. This queue that you're looking at, 10 minutes. There's hardly ever a queue, even out here. Even out here, it's still going to be 20, 25 minutes maximum. I'm always a go when it comes to Winnie the Pooh's, or the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. There we go. Whew. Good to see the Mark Twain back on the river again. She was only down for a couple weeks, that I think, maybe not even 10 days. I can't remember now, but whatever. She's back. Sounds great, looks great. One of the best things she'll ever see at the Disneyland Resort. Let's go to Galaxy's Edge, check in on Rise of the Resistance, an attraction we never talk about anymore when it comes to breakdowns. Not that it doesn't break down, it still breaks down, but you're just all kind of, it's just part of the experience now, like Indiana Jones. You know, long queues and breakdowns. That's part of Disneyland, part of Rise of the Resistance. They're in section 2 here. So that's a good sized queue for this afternoon. The demand for Rise has certainly ebbed of late, possibly because of its reputation. But I would consider that a fairly standard queue, typical. Posted at 50 right now. That's a go for me, especially if Rise of the Resistance is a priority for you. That's a go. It's not going to be worse than 50. I'll say that, especially considering it's a paid lightning lane, not regular lightning lane, so you're going to get less activity there. You can count on it being less intense. So they're going to post 50 there. It's probably going to take, if I did the math on that, that's about 7, 8, 15, 22, another 37, probably 40 minutes. I'm going to guess 40 minutes to the Ray Room. Which brings us to the marketplace, and normally this is where we would look at the tip board and get a Tatooine sunset. Well, we'll be looking at the tip board, but we're getting lunch today at Docking Bay 7 because they have some new menu items, so we'll be doing that and getting a different wonderful treat, a fat robe, to go with our lunch. I absolutely love eating at Docking Bay 7, mostly because there's always something, they're trying new stuff here all the time, and it's not your typical common fare. It's always something, wow, they're really serving that at Docking Bay 7? That kind of thing, like my favorite dish, the Felucian Kefta. Amazing. Today we're getting something new on the menu, the fried chicken baos. 2 crispy chicken baos, spicy katsu sauce, and creamy slaw, which is something that you would expect to find at, let's say, Separate Sokyo at Lucky Fortune Cookery or something like that. But we're getting them here at Docking Bay 7, and I'm excited about that. It's not exactly a hearty serving. It won't fill you up. This is not a meal. You will probably need something else to go with it. Although I don't have a big stomach, so I can probably handle this. But basically, it's just fried chicken. They call it tip yip. And the slaw looks good. I'm really, really curious about that katsu sauce. Is that what it was? Interesting, by the way, that they called it chicken. They just straight up called it chicken. They didn't call it tip yip, which they do in other items. But here they're foregoing the subterfuge, the illusion that we're, on some Star Wars themed planet, which we are. They're just calling it straight chicken. There you go, guys. Cheers, FreshBaked. Excellent start. The chicken is good. The bao is perfect the way it should be. Didn't get a lot of slaw on that. I do love things with slaw. So I'm going to try to get a bite with the chicken. That is quite good. I very much approve. Especially with the slaw included in the bite with the chicken, and the bao, and the katsu sauce. All those flavors are coming together very nicely. This is a very good chicken bao. As mentioned, we're going with the Fatro today, instead of our favored Tatooine Sunset next door from Ronto Roasters. It's similar though. This is very similar to what you might get with the Tatooine Sunset is Gold Peak Unsweetened Tea, Minute Maid Lemonade, and Desert Pear. It won't be quite as sweet as the Tatooine Sunset is, I don't think. That's very good. Very delicious, very refreshing. It's an excellent addition to your meal. Not quite as good as the Tatooine Sunset, though. I mean, what are we talking about? If Tatooine Sunset were a 10, this is like an 8.5 or so. It's very good. Let's now get into that tip board. And we're off to a great start. Alice in Wonderland is closed. You never like to see that. Astro Orbiter, 30 minutes, pretty standard. Autopia, 35. That's actually kind of high. I would call that high for a January day. 35 minutes and 40-minute return time. That's actually kind of high also. Big Thunder is closed. That's 2 down out of 3. Buzz Lightyear, 25. Return time of now. Kind of standard. That's okay. Chippendales. Oh my God, I called it Chippendales and not Gadget's Coaster. I've been assimilated. 30-minute standby. That's a healthy wait. Dumbo, 40. Ooh. Are we going to see a queue back there by Casey Jr.? Finding Nemo, 35. I probably wouldn't get in that queue. Haunted Mansion is up to 65. We saw it at 45, but we said steady stream of Lightning Lane guests were getting in that queue. Now or then was the time to get in the queue. Maybe not so much now, but look at return time for Lightning Lane, just 2 hours from now. So it's a light day today, I think, for Lightning Lane. I don't think people are buying a lot of it today. Indiana Jones, we saw a bunch of people cashing in Lightning Lanes for Indiana Jones earlier. It is now closed. They broke it. So what is that? 1, that's 2, 3 attractions down. Return time in 4 hours. That's not bad for Indy. Not bad at all. Jungle Cruise, 30. It's back up. That was closed, so that's recovered. King Arthur Carousel, 15. Mad Tea Party, 10. Winnie the Pooh, 10. Matterhorn, 45. I mean, 45 is not bad. Return time in hour and a half. That's not bad for Matterhorn. It's a little light. Let's see, Runaway Railway, almost an hour. That's a very long queue for Runaway Railway, considering how well that queue processes guests. They can cycle guests like crazy, which makes me wonder. That's just everybody's going to Runaway today. We'll go look at the back of that queue and see if that jives. Return time in an hour and a half. Let's see, Smuggler's Run, 40 minutes. I mean, there's just no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing. That's going to wind up being a life goal of mine, is to figure out how to know how true. That's like the most mysterious, probably the most mysterious queue in the entire park. I have no idea what's right and what's not. I'll go in there and look at the back of the queue. I'm like, that's nothing. And then you'll wait there for an hour. Toad is 20. Peter Pan, 30. Pinocchio, 15. All standard. Pirates is at 30. Return time in less than an hour and a half. Roger Rabbit, 40 minutes. Every time we look at this, we see a Roger Rabbit queue that's, wow, I want to get in that queue. That's a break. That's a deal. That's a discount. And we get in there. It's the back of the queue is at the prop room every single time. Return time in just an hour. Snow White is 15. Space, 45 minutes. Good for you, Space Mountain. That's an efficient attraction, guys. We only have the one track, whereas they have the 2 tracks at Magic Kingdom. But man, they can cycle guests. The most professional cast members that you're going to find in anywhere in the park, without a doubt, in my opinion, are found at Space Mountain. Those guys are really, really good at their jobs. Star Tours, 25. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance is closed, so that's 4. We are down 4 attractions now. Return time of now. Let's see, Storybook Land, 20. Tiana, 75. So it went up from that 55 that we saw. And that jives because when we left, the place felt like it was picking up. There were more guests in that area. There were more guests in single rider. There were more guests in standby. Matter of fact, they had blossomed out into extended 2. When we got there, standby was just extended 1. It is now, and it was extended 2 when we got there. So definitely 75. Dude, people like Tiana's. I don't know what you're talking about. For those who are like, whatever, Tiana's, it's not Splash Mountain. People love it. And I guess it is now time to just go get befuddled by the Millennium Falcon queue. And we looked at tip board, and it was 40 when we were just about ready to walk down here. Got a little B-roll, looked up, and it's 55 minutes. So I'm not expecting things to look good when we get inside the queue. I can tell you that what we've seen out here, the little recon you can do from outside looking through the window, and you can see the one thing that you're not looking to see or hoping to see, and that's guests leaning up against the glass, getting a bit of rest while they're waiting to see Hondo. Not a good look.
Employees love to joke while they work. It's just another benefit of working for
There you go.
Transport Solutions.
Let's see how far back that goes. But at 55 minutes, oh my. That is just something that you never see is the cute. This is back to opening day type stuff. I'm surprised they're even calling this 55, unless there's no lightning lane. I would love to go check, but I gotta wait 20 minutes before I can even look at the lightning lane queue. This is a bad look. This is a turn around and go home. That's a no-go. That's an absolute no-go. I don't like seeing guests there. I don't like seeing guests on the catwalk up there. And may I also add, this is more guests that we see walking around here. When I come through here, this is usually the part where we do a little bit of commentary, and it's pretty easy to walk through this space. Not that it isn't now, but this is a healthy percentage more guests in this area here than you normally find. Galaxy's Edge is happening today. Could be because Rise is down and people are here. They're like, I wonder if that's a thing. Like, again, I don't have any data to back this up, but I wonder if it's a thing where people loiter. When Rise goes down, people loiter in they go jump on Millennium Falcon. That's a good reason why Smuggler's Run would be as busy as it is right now, because they're trying to stall, wait. Because you don't come in and out of Galaxy's Edge like you do Adventureland or Fantasyland. Galaxy's Edge is a destination. You have to have a reason to come here typically, and then once you're here, that's your visit, and then you're probably not going to come back. I don't know how many guests are out there leaving and coming back to Galaxy's Edge multiple times in a day. It's just not a thing. You know, I'm reminded of when Galaxy's Edge first opened. So much hype. Leading up to that opening, we had been covering the construction of the land for a couple of years. I actually got media for that as well, which is great. But I remember being both just incredibly hyped and excited and optimistic, but also a little bit scared about what the result was going to be. I was afraid of being let down, and that's the case. I feel that way almost every time something new happens at the parks. I feel, But anyway, I was very optimistic. I just loved the idea. I thought Star Wars was the perfect vehicle for a new land. That's the way that things should be, and that they could just the opportunities were incredibly limitless. And then the land opened, and I gotta say, while it's beautiful, I thought it was beautiful then. I really did enjoy, and still do enjoy, the way that the land is themed, how it looks. I'm not one of those who thinks it should have looked like Tatooine or something spacey. Most environments in Star Wars are lived in. I was happy with that, but I remember being a little underwhelmed by the amount of actual Star Wars that was in the land. That was the thing, is that I was hoping for, and nothing has changed. And so I guess, it's still the same stormtroopers, same Kylo Ren meet and greet, encounter. You get a few more meet and greets in the marketplace. You could meet Boba Fett and Ahsoka, etc., which are good. Those are good additions, but it's just not. I don't know what the answer is to that question. I don't know if I could articulate what the expectation should be. All I can say is it didn't. I thought it was going to be more than it was. And sometimes when I reflect back on that, I'm like, because the thing is that it's still great. I still love going to Galaxy's Edge, but I thought you were going to have to keep me out of that land. I thought you were going to have to drag me out of there. Today, I would much rather be in Fantasyland. You know what I mean? I love Galaxy's Edge. I love Star Wars. I love all that, but I'd rather be in Fantasyland. But for a variety of reasons, and I wouldn't rather be here because I think Galaxy's Edge sucks. It's just that Fantasyland is everything. Fantasyland gives you everything you want, which we are arriving at now. Let's go do a little recon on these dark rides and see if we can't open ourselves up to the magic and wonder that is Fantasyland. A little busy is what it is. My goodness. Tree's still missing. No news yet on. Oh, what's going on with Casey Jr.? Well, I don't think I've ever seen Casey Jr. literally closed, except for when it's under repair. That makes me sad a little bit. That makes my heart sad a little bit, seeing an empty queue for Casey Jr. No trains on the track, no sounds, no nothing. And as far as I know, it's not under any kind of refurb. I was not expecting to feel that way about Casey Jr. When the Disneyland Railroad closes, I feel that in my heart. When the monorail closes, I feel that in my heart. I felt that. I felt the closure of Casey Jr. right now. Ooh, man. Okay, we got to recover again. What's more? The same thing happened 2 weeks ago. They lose that tree. They took the tree, and I wasn't sure if I could even finish the show. Look at Pinocchio go. Wow. That's as long a queue as I've seen a Pinocchio in quite some time. Using all of it. Every last bit. I have no idea what the posted wait time is here. Do they even post it somewhere? Now that I'm thinking about it, there's not even ever a sign out here, ever. 20 minutes. We'll call it 20. Fantasyland's popping. Okay, Snow White is next. A little less crazy, a little more normal. They're posted at 25, but it's not. It's 15 or 20. It's in the neighborhood. If it gets even just a little bit busier, it'll probably hit that 25 mark. But yeah, that's a pretty good showing. Peter Pan, using all of the switchbacks out here, using all of the Merlin's section back there. Using all the chains out here, but not the chains on the left. Those are still open. Posted 40. It'll be a little south of that, maybe 35 minutes. Because of this right here. That's about 5 minutes right there. And last but not least, the dark rides here in Fantasyland A. Toads. Toads is Toads, man. Right? Am I right or am I right? Toads is Toads. All go, no quit. That's actually pretty busy. They're starting to poke out of the main queue there. They're going to have to build a little temporary queue out here. These guests are going to be loose any second. Very good showing so far here at Fantasyland. Makes me happy to see people enjoying this land as much as they are. Okay, we saw a 40-minute posted wait time for Dumbo when we looked at the tip board. Posted at 30. I can see guests drifting off to the backside. We got to go look at that. Well, they are back here, but they're not using quite all of it. There's a lot of gaps, a lot of open spaces back there. This isn't the worst situation in the world. It does look like about a legit 30 minutes, I would say. That'd be a go for me. I'm down for Dumbo at 30 minutes at that rate. But man, look at Fantasyland go. I think we may have finally found a discount though at the Mad Tea Party. But I mean, then again, Mad Tea Party is always a discount. This is always a never for me. I always go and never say no. If you feel like going to Mad Tea Party, just get on it. It's, 2 rotations here, that's it. Plus you get to do one of the most magical Disneyland things you can ever do. Riding around and going in circles on the teacups with that music spinning is just about the most cool thing you can do at Disneyland, in my opinion. Meanwhile, Alice in Wonderland looks nasty as usual. I walk by this and like, oh my gosh, people talk about Peter Pan. This queue is crazy. But it's actually more crazy than usual because they're outside again. They're loose. They're out here loose into the street. They haven't curled it around the mushroom. Instead, they're turning back into. Wow. Normally, it's just these 2 chains, but they've got it set up so that people enter right here instead of from the other side. So that inspires guests to queue up behind that rather than going through this queue. They're not sending them around the mushroom, which is a curious choice. So yeah, they've done this intentionally. This is all by design. They sent the queue. I don't like that one bit because that makes a huge choke point over here on this very narrow already space when they could easily have, sent at the posted wait time sign, send it right here and around the mushroom. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. It's curious. And once more, what the hell do I know? I don't know the first thing about running a theme park. I just make observations. That doesn't seem the most logical, efficient way to do things. By the way, posted 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes from the sign, so probably another 5-7 minutes, maybe not even that, maybe 5 minutes on that outer rail. So 25 minutes all in, maybe. And crowds continue to surprise me here at Fantasyland. I love it. I love it. Showing up for Fantasyland. That's so great. Storybook Land. 25 minutes there. They're still within the constraints of the traditional queue. It's starting to peak out a little bit. They put up a rope. So they're wondering if maybe something might happen. They're prepared for that, but it hasn't happened yet. Although now that I get here, it's beginning to. But that's a healthy queue there. That's a healthy queue for Storybook Land. They finally closed Tomorrowland, you guys. Down for another few months, finishing the refurb that was started prior to the Christmas holiday. So look for that to open up sometime in May, I think. April, probably late April is my guess. And remember from our tip board segment, both attractions here, well, the two major attractions here at Toontown, Roger Rabbit and Runaway Railway, both had some surprising queues that I was really curious to see if they were real or not. Notably, Roger Rabbit is always saying it's 40 minutes or 30 minutes, then we get here and it's an hour. Reverse was true for Runaway Railway. We'll check on that. Or maybe not. I'm looking at Roger Rabbit. It's looking very closed right now. So nothing's happened there yet. Posted wait time is blank, and there are guests walking out of the queue, and they're keeping people from going in. So I guess we can't check on that. We'll go to Runaway Railway, where luckily for us, it does look like it's open. Both doors are open. You ever walk by here and you see one door closed, wing down, that means the attraction's closed, both doors open. You're good to go. Thank you, thank you. See, welcome reception here for Runaway Railway. Looking for the back of the queue here. The posted wait time said 40 minutes, and I think the back of the queue is right there around the corner. It was 50 when we checked the tip board earlier, which I thought was too high. So they have brought it down, but the queue is still quite generous. That is a big queue. We don't typically find the back at this point. Usually it's more closer to getting into the first prop room. Now, Runaway Railway is almost always an always go for me. However, if I were to draw a line, if I were being made to say no, go or no go, that's probably on the no-go side of things. I might try and wait another 30 minutes or so, maybe try out one of the other attractions here if you're here with your family, go play around at Goofy's How to Play Yard or something like that, and then check back in. Because I think you can do better than that posted wait time, or what we saw in the queue there. And that brings us to Mini Sal's, which is always, almost always, exactly the same. Posted right now at 30 minutes. Queue is down to the fence, as it often is. Minnie meeting in her living room, while Mickey is a very soft and comfortable 30 minutes. Never fails. I walk by that Minnie queue more times than I can count, and it's almost always looking just like that. And then there's Gadget Coaster. Ooh. Yeah, that's the back of the queue right here, man. I don't like that at all. Even still, though, it's not the worst thing in the world, but that's a solid 35 minutes right there. I remember coming to Toontown many years ago, and just arriving into the land started to fill me up with anxiety and dread and whatever. It was a land that I didn't appreciate, a land that I didn't like. Some of it had to do with the way it was constructed. The fact that it's not very organic, mostly concrete, and that's about it. Not a lot of real trees, not a lot of real anything. But it also wasn't connected to, or I wasn't connected to it from a standpoint that this land didn't exist when I was young, and so much of how we feel about a thing is relevant to how it fit in our childhood. My childhood did not include Toontown at all, so I never felt connected to it the same way I don't feel connected to Splash Mountain in ways that other people do. So I was very happy. I would have been fine if they had actually destroyed the entire land and made it frozen or something like that, but I was very happy when they updated it. And now when I walk in there today, the transformation that's happened to me, because I now do feel connected to this land. I do feel like this land belongs to me again. And I just love being in Toontown, even though I don't always go on the rides and I can't do some of the stuff that kids can do in there, because, well, I'm not a kid unless I brought mine. But I still feel very, very good. I love being in Toontown. I love what they've done with it, and it has saved it from a land that I don't like or didn't like into one of my favorite places to be in the entire resort. It's incredible. And now we come to one of the more curious parts of our show every single or every 2 weeks, I'm always wondering, what is the story with the Matterhorn? I'm always curious to know. I feel like it's a bit of drama, because I am terrified of this queue. I literally am. This is probably the scariest queue in the entire park for me. Not even Indiana Jones scares me as much as Matterhorn bobsleds do. Beautiful, of course, obviously. Gosh, that's so majestic. You can hear the music happening, the goats, all that. I'm really filled up with happiness right now, but I'm looking at that posted wait time. It says 55 minutes. Not ideal. Don't like to see that. I do like to see all these empty queues in here, though. I like to see, they're just at left. No, they're right of tree. They're right of tree. What am I talking about? My goodness. What is going on with Lightning Lane? We'll have to go back and check there. But they're only at right of tree, which is great. Tree lamp is empty. Left and left are empty. Let's see how far back they go. Extended 1, extended 2, extended 3. That's a go, you guys, based on the 55 posted. If I do the math on this queue right now, it's probably going to be somewhere in the 35-minute range. Yeah, it's just the extended 3. This right here is 15 minutes. And then figure 7 minutes for ride of tree, 7 minutes for the return trip back to the mix point, and then 7 minutes in the covered area. That's 21 plus 15 equals 36 minutes. But even doing that math, even, it still scares me, because anything can change at any moment. At any moment, this queue could go sideways, and it all has to do with Lightning Lane. But as I'm looking at Lightning Lane now, it's just, it's kind of standard. Dude, I can't believe I would get in this queue. This is a go. And that's like, I'm still nervous about it, but it's also as sure as I'm going to be about go, no go for Matterhorn. It's Matterhorn, very difficult to measure. Never going to feel safe in a Matterhorn queue. I could sure use a monorail going by right now. But the monorail is closed for who knows how long. Probably for as long as they are updating the queue, the entrance at downtown Disney. I'm not sure if that's the full extent of what they're doing, but it's for at least that long. And there is our Finding Nemo queue. Doesn't look too bad. It's not out of line. It's not excessive. It's actually pretty good for Nemo, if they're running both sides especially. I've been doing a little recon on this one, and I've learned that you could fill a whole boat between the mix point where they start filtering these guests into their little pens, from right about, or this rock right there, from that rock to when they start sending guests into the pen is about a boat's worth of guests. Show's starting to wind down. We just got a few more attractions to go, but I can say at this point, as we head to Autopia, for what I'm sure is going to be a very typical examination, I'm happy with the show out today. It's not busy. It's not a very intimidating day by any stretch, but it is the kind of day that people aren't supposed to be here. It's a Wednesday. Like we said, it's a green day. It's tier 0, $104 to get in. Pretty good showing today. They haven't crushed the park. The tier 0s haven't crushed the park, but it's kind of busy, and there have been times where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. Maybe that's a no-go, like we saw at Indiana Jones and at Mickey Minnie's. But this is nice. This is a very manageable day. Look at this queue up there, though, on the risers for Autopia. This might be the most out-of-character queue we've seen all day. Considering how busy the rest of the park is, the fact that they're up there, I thought this was going to be standard. It's not. Standard is maybe, just the first walk up and maybe one riser. Maybe it goes into the rotunda. But they got almost 4 switchbacks full up there. That's kind of impressive. That's a busy day for Autopia. I hope you're ready, guests in this queue right now. And here comes the rest of Tomorrowland. I do enjoy making this connection to Tomorrowland from Autopia, the path we take during these reports, and the reveal of the rest of Tomorrowland. I love hearing that music. Always. Tomorrowland makes me happy, just like Fantasyland does. It shouldn't, because of all the things that are not right about it, but it does. Tomorrowland makes me happy. Seeing a posted wait time of 55 minutes for Space Mountain. That's our next stop. Oh no. I could see it, but you couldn't. I had to turn the camera yet. Look at that. That's Lightning Lane. It has been a little while since I've seen a queue that gnarly at Space Mountain. It has to be a ride closure. Check and see if things are any better over in standby. Nope, that does not look good. Yeah, that's the last thing you want to see. When you get to the top of this queue up here upstairs and you see the queue coming out the doors there, that is just an absolute positively bad sign. That's a no-go from Space Mountain. And I cannot believe it's only 55 minutes. Confirmed, by the way, no ride closures today, except for a small brief one when the attraction first opened this morning, just after 8 a.m. It has been up all day and it's been steady in the 50-55 minute range. That is incredible. It's incredible. That is just a busy attraction. I can't believe it's not worse than that. I cannot believe the standby wait time is not worse than that, considering that Lightning Lane queue out there. Maybe that'll bump it up by the time we get down there and get, finished looking at this attraction. Meanwhile, look at this river of guests that just jumped into the standby queue. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine choosing Space Mountain right now in this condition? The amount of disappointment that they are about to feel, unless they're ready for an hour plus wait, I'm sure. But the good news is it looks like they've cleared most of that Lightning Lane queue. Good news both for Lightning Lane guests and for standby. Once they get rid of that Lightning Lane queue, if they can keep it at a minimal level, then those standby guests will have at least a shot at getting in there before that 60-minute or 55-minute posted wait time. Yeah, I gotta say, man, I've really enjoyed this day today. It is probably the most perfect crowd level to find, that equilibrium between, Disney making money and guests being happy, not having to wait too long for attractions, it's not too busy in the streets. This has been just about perfect. There you go. Buzz Lightyear, Astro Blasters, 20 minutes. I mean, nominal queue out here. You got a few guests heading Lightning Lane, but look at the standby. This feels downright pleasant. Downright pleasant. I'm okay. Wow. Same for Star Tours. It's got a posted wait time of 15 minutes, which is great. That's great. You're not going to do much better than that at Star Tours. It's not a kind of attraction that's going to get into the 45 to an hour range, but that's pretty good. The doors aren't even open, although it looks like he may be trying to now, because that 15 minutes is a bit of a call to action. It's a good queue to be getting into. Man, I hope you guys made plans to come to Disneyland in January, February. This has just been ideal. This is what you hope for. Like, gosh, you try to pick those days. What's the best time to go? And I've always been like, oh man, they've kind of evened things out. Disney's doing a pretty good job of flatlining the crowd levels, but this is nice. I'm enjoying this. If you want to make plans, if this has inspired you to come to Disneyland, please do consider joining our travel affiliate, GetAwayToday. There's a link in the description. Use that link to book a trip to Disneyland or Disney World, Alani, Universal, a cruise, you name it. They will handle you. These guys are the best in the business. I love GetAwayToday. They are, I've met, encountered them several times. We've been on many trips together. They are the nicest, most knowledgeable folks when it comes to Disneyland, and gosh darn it, we just love them. And they are fans of our show as well, so it's mutually, so it works great in both directions. Use the link in the description below. Call GetAwayToday. Book a trip. Hope you guys have a great time. And that leaves us with Frontierland. Big Thunder was closed and we checked the tip board, so I have no idea what to compare it to if we find it open. Well, that don't look good. Look over there. I don't see an empty queue over there. It's not a good sign. Big Thunder is without a doubt closed. Looking at that, can you imagine a world where that's the queue you see when it's open at what, almost 4 in the afternoon? Wait a sec. Oh my, did it just, the queue is open. Wait, what?
Yeah, come on in, guys.
Did we just
Wait, folks, come on in.
find a miracle here at Big Thunder? Are we going to close this show getting a super great groovy discount? I didn't even get the chance to shoot it, but the tip or the posted wait time said 40 minutes. This has to be coming off another ride closure, right? Did we just luck out? Let me take a look. Yep, there it is. Oh my gosh, it's been down since 2:15. So yeah, it's been down for about an hour and a half, and it just reopened about 10 minutes ago. Got into this queue. I didn't even have a chance to do that either. I didn't have a chance to turn on the stopwatch. We got in this queue at about 3:45, I'm gonna say. It's 3:50 now. Make that 3:48. I'll say 2 minutes. So far 2 minutes on the clock, plus the 2 minutes that we spent walking through the first part of the queue. We're looking at 4 minutes past the mix point. Another 3 or 4 minutes here and we'll be in our vehicle. But it might already be too late for folks trying to capture that discount because the standby queue is filling up quickly.
Take row number 5, okay?
And there we go, we're at our lane already in just 6 minutes total. 6 minutes to get to this point. You want to see something sick, guys? Evidence that you really need to be right on it. It's been 10 minutes since we got in the queue. We spent about 6 minutes in the queue, 4 minutes or so on the ride and getting out of the attraction and everything. And that empty queue we shot at the very beginning is now completely full. There's a huge ass line out here. It took no time at all for them to fill up that standby queue. No time at all. Oh my gosh, it's still going. There's more. Where's the back? Wow. I am now crossing through the queue. We walked by this queue about 10 minutes ago. I didn't get to shoot it with my phone because I was pointing the camera in the other direction. We shot it getting into the queue, but this was all completely empty 10 minutes ago. This whole section was 100% empty. Great show today, guys. If you have a minute to extend the magic, we've got 2 food videos that we just put out. Everything that's new at the Disney Resort for 2025 and the Lunar New Year. We'll see you next time, guys. Be safe, be kind. Fresh Baked.